There was a time in my life when my home was full, and so was my mind. Full of things I thought I needed, full of noise I didn't recognize as noise, and yet inside I felt empty. I used to chase success, like most people do. A bigger house, more possessions, more achievements to prove I was doing well. But somewhere along the way, I lost something far more precious: peace. It happened one quiet Sunday morning. I woke up and, for the first time, really looked around my home. The shelves overflowed with books I never opened. My closet sagged under clothes I never wore, and the counters were crowded with gadgets I hadn't touched in years. It was as if every object was quietly shouting for my attention, and I suddenly felt suffocated. I sat there, surrounded by all the things I once thought I needed, and in the stillness, I heard something I hadn't noticed in years: my own breath. Slow, uneven, real. So I walked to the kitchen, made myself a simple cup of coffee, and sat by the window. The morning sun crept gently across the floorboards, spilling soft gold over everything. For once, nothing was rushing me. No phone buzzing, no to-do list waiting, just light, warmth, and the sound of life moving quietly outside. And in that silence, a question rose, almost like a whisper. What if I don't need more? What if I just need less? It wasn't a dramatic revelation. It was small, gentle, but it was the first honest question I had asked myself in a very long time. Since that morning, I've been learning to let go, not just of things, but of the noise that keeps me from feeling alive. Because sometimes peace doesn't come from adding more to our lives. It comes from making space to finally breathe again.
I started small, just one drawer. A few old papers, a tangled necklace, a note I couldn't remember writing. Then one shelf, then one room. Little by little, I began letting go of what no longer belonged to my life. At first, it felt strange, even a little painful. Every object seemed to whisper a story, a reason to stay. I'd pick something up, feel the weight of memory in my hands, and wonder if letting go meant forgetting. But as the days went on, something shifted. I realized I wasn't simply tidying my home, I was clearing a path through my own past. The more I released, the more I saw how tightly I'd been holding on to versions of myself that no longer fit, to dreams that had quietly expired, to the comfort of clutter that made me feel safe, but not free. Each time I placed an item in the donation box, the air seemed to grow lighter, as if my house was breathing again. And maybe in some quiet way, so was I. I remember the day I finally cleared my living room. I sat down on the bare wooden floor, surrounded by open space and soft light. No noise, no distractions, just stillness. For the first time in years, the silence didn't ache. It wrapped around me gently, like a friend saying, "You're home now." And in that moment, I understood. Peace isn't something you find. It's something you make room for.
There was a time when I believed decluttering was just about cleaning.
folding shirts, stacking books, and putting things in their right place. But one quiet afternoon, as I stood in the middle of my cluttered living room, I realized it wasn't the dust or the mess that made me feel heavy. It was the weight of everything I was holding on to. Memories, guilt, maybe someday items that no longer had a place in my life. I began slowly, one drawer at a time. Some things were easy to let go of, others, not so much. But with each item I released, I felt a tiny shift, as if I was reclaiming a piece of myself that had been buried under years of stuff. I started to notice something strange. Every object in my home carried energy. Some brought warmth and memories, others drained me quietly without me even realizing it. And when I finally chose to keep only the things that added peace, my home began to change. The air felt lighter, the rooms felt calmer, and somewhere in that simplicity, I began to hear my own thoughts again. The less I owned, the more gratitude I felt for what remained. The more space I created, the more I could breathe. And slowly, the stillness of my home became a mirror for the calm I'd been searching for inside. In letting go of what didn't matter, I found something far greater: clarity, peace, and a quiet kind of joy that no amount of stuff could ever give.
After my home felt lighter, I started to notice something else. My mind was still heavy, not with things I could see, but with the invisible weight I carried every day. Old regrets whispered in quiet moments, expectations I could never meet pressed against my chest, and that constant comparison, the silent voice telling me I wasn't enough, it lingered even in the cleanest of rooms. So I decided to declutter from the inside out. I began letting go of anger that had long lost its purpose, of guilt that served no one, and of that endless need to prove myself. I started to forgive, even those who never asked for forgiveness. And slowly, I learned to sit still, not to escape my thoughts, but to listen to them without fear or judgment. Meditation helped, though not in the way I expected. It wasn't about clearing the mind, but coming home to it. Long walks in nature became my therapy, each step grounding me in the present. Sometimes I'd just watch the sunrise. No music, no phone, no rush. Just the quiet hum of morning light reminding me that peace was never lost. I had simply stopped noticing it. There's a silence you can only hear when you stop trying to fill it. And in that silence, I didn't find perfection. I found myself, softer, lighter, and finally at peace. These days, my life looks simple. My home is small, just enough for me and the quiet. There's a kind of peace here that I never found in the noise of my old life. I used to chase after more things, more plans, more reasons to stay busy. But somehow, all that more left me feeling empty. Now, my days move slower. The mornings stretch out softly, like sunlight spilling across the kitchen table. I sit with a warm cup of tea, listening to the hum of life outside, the wind, the birds, the steady rhythm of time passing without hurry. I've learned that gratitude isn't something grand. It's in the smallest things. The warmth of the cup in my hands, the way the light changes throughout the day. The quiet understanding that this moment is enough. I speak less now, and I listen more. Not just to others, but to life itself. I no longer measure success by what I own or how much I accomplish. Those days are behind me.
Instead, I measure it by how calm my heart feels when I wake up, by how gently I can walk through this world without needing to prove anything. Life, I've realized, isn't about keeping up. It's about slowing down, enough to see, to feel, to truly be here. And in that stillness, I found something I had been chasing all along: peace.
There was a time when my home felt heavy, not because of the things inside it, but because of the weight they carried. Every drawer I opened seemed to whisper memories I wasn't ready to face. Old receipts, half-broken trinkets, clothes I swore I'd wear again someday. They weren't just things. They were pieces of stories I'd already lived and somehow couldn't let go of. One afternoon, as the light fell softly across the living room floor, I decided to start small. Just one drawer. It wasn't easy. Every object had a reason, an attachment, a maybe. But with each item I released, I felt a little more space open up, not just on the shelf, but inside me. I realized something simple that day. Peace doesn't come when everything looks perfect. It comes when you stop fighting what you can't control, when you let go of the noise in your home, in your mind, in your heart. You don't have to change your whole life overnight. You just have to start. One drawer, one habit, one thought at a time. Because peace isn't found in a spotless room or a well-planned life. It's found in the quiet, after you've finally set something down and felt, maybe for the first time in a long while, that you can breathe again. Sometimes the journey back to peace begins not with more, but with less.
I used to believe happiness was something I could earn after enough work, enough success, enough approval. But now I know happiness was always there, quietly waiting beneath the clutter. All I had to do was make space for it. If this story spoke to you, take a moment today to breathe, to slow down, and to look around. Ask yourself what truly matters and gently release the rest. Because sometimes the simplest life is the richest one of all.